I am tired. I am tired, but I'm here.
Yeah, I just woke up myself. Getting ready for this night shift in a few hours.
What are your hours?
10 to 6.
Mm.
I'll be asleep from 10 to 6.
I
What are you doing?
work overnight at Planet Fitness.
Mm.
But, during the daytime, there's always something to do as well. So it's not like you get to sleep, throughout. So it's like broken up sleep. You got to like get a little bit here, a little bit there.
Sounds
So, like,
horrible.
when you get off work, do you go to sleep?
It depends. Depends on what's going on that day.
Mm.
Typically, yeah, I try to sleep for a few hours as soon as I get off, then get up, handle a couple things, and then I try to make it back to sleep before I go back to work. But that also depends on what I got going on that day. Because some days, especially later in the week, is when comedy gets more involved. So I don't get to take the second nap. So I try to front load it. But
Well, Kellie said to start without her.
yeah, I seen it.
Okay.
Terry, you still here, or did you?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking through my phone.
No, you good. Your screen went black. I didn't know if we had lost you now. Okay,
Oh no, I guess it does that automatically when I'm looking through my phone.
gotcha. Alrighty, well, let's get it popping.
Boom shakalaka.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Worst Ones Podcast. This is the podcast for preachers' kids to come and be the absolute worst. My name is Rudy Wilson. I am a preacher's kid. We got Terry Weezy. He is a preacher's kid. We got our residential honor roll student, Janessa Rowland, in the building. She is a preacher's kid. And we have Kellie Leezy, the princess, on the way. She told us to start without her, so I'm assuming she will be here momentarily.
We'll see.
We're all PKs. We're here. We did not record last week because we had love in the air, and then even as far as the weekend, I didn't realize that Janessa. I honestly didn't see that you had responded. I thought only me and Terry responded, so I assumed that we weren't going to record at all. And then, so I was knocked out. And then
We messed up. You ever mess up? It happened to
yeah,
us.
Kellie
Happens
called
to
me from her daddy's birthday party, and I'm like, oh, damn, okay, well. So then, yeah, it just became a whole thing. So we're back. So with Valentine's Day and all that being last week, Terry, we can start with you. How was your Valentine's Day celebrations, if you had one at all?
We don't.
Okay.
Me and my wife have an agreement. We've had it since we were dating. We don't believe in Valentine's Day.
All right.
It's a made up holiday that was famously made up by Hallmark to sell greeting cards between Christmas and Easter. So what we do is just to have the same feelings and the same emotions. In February, we celebrate Groundhog's Day in the same manner. So every February 2nd, we'll go out to dinner and not get overcharged and not get used and taken advantage of. So we do ours. We do ours on Groundhog's Day. I did, however, bring her some cupcakes that I found on sale with little hearts on them. So I did that, which was technically against the rules, but she's a woman. She loves sweets. She was happy. So
when y'all celebrate Groundhog's Day, are y'all actually celebrating the Groundhog's Day, or are y'all just using Groundhog's Day as another day to celebrate Valentine's Day?
Well, it's kind of it's kind of like the same thing. We just kind of do it on a different day as an act of defiance, basically, and say, no, you don't tell us what to do. We will love each other every day, but we'll show it on this particular. We don't do gifts. We just, she's a foodie kind of, and I obviously am very heavy into food and cooking. So, we find a nice restaurant and we do that. I mean, we always say that's what anniversaries are for, anniversaries are for showing your love to each other, don't get used by some corporation.
Okay.
That's us. We're complicated folks.
Gotcha. I mean, I ain't mad at that.
Yeah, we're just complicated folks. It is what it is.
Okay. Well, Jeriana, how about yourself? I'm sure you didn't give a damn about Groundhog's Day. Internet's still shaky. You frozen with a smile on your face.
Oh no! Great. Now I got to rail on Hallmark for another 10 minutes till she gets back up again.
If you can hear us, you're frozen with a smile on your face. We can't hear you or see you moving.
Well, you're a single man, Rudy. What'd you do, if anything? Did you have a date?
Can y'all hear me?
Now we can.
Now
you're back.
Yeah.
Okay, I might just have to be cameraless today. But Valentine's Day was good. My brother and dad are my forever Valentines, so they got me some flowers and a cookie cake that was really sweet. Even though my brother, they typically make me chocolate covered strawberries. That's what I really like. I still appreciate the gesture. So that was nice. And then I did have a little date. So that was nice.
Okay.
So yeah, I had a good Valentine's Day. And then what I really wanted to talk to you guys about was yesterday I had my community engagement event at the church with the seniors ministry that went really well.
Right.
So that, was 6 months in the making. So that's why I'm tired today. It's kind of like just the decompressing from that. And then the program I was doing, the Energy Justice Ambassador Program, we had our kind of like closing ceremony celebration at Best in Brewing. Dang, I should have brought it, but I got a little certificate to go with my honor roll certificate.
Dean's List.
Yes, Dean's List. So we partied hard on a Tuesday. We went up on a Tuesday and I'm paying for it on a Wednesday. So yeah, I've had a good couple of weeks.
Gotcha. So let's not try to speed past this date. So what y'all do?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I know. Our audience missed an episode for this date. Like, they deserve to know how it went.
Don't worry.
What y'all do? I mean, you don't have to give us, was it least?
You don't have to do details. You don't have to tell us about breakfast. Just tell us about dinner.
Oh my gosh, we did dinner and a movie, and
there you go.
Good time.
Gotcha. What did y'all see?
Beekeeper.
Oh, I heard that was fire.
It was interesting.
Yeah, it's a Jason Statham action movie. Did you even need to see it?
So one thing though I did notice, and maybe Rudy because you're in film, but I've been noticing it more. I've been watching a lot of like action movies. When there's a fight scene, why is it only one person tries to attack the man or the person instead of all of them?
I've always wondered that. I know. It's like
because it's a movie and it's in the script.
I could have jumped a long time ago and just
If they all attacked at once, the movie would be over.
It's like everybody's just standing around waiting on their turn.
It's like they're in Mortal Kombat, just in that waiting phase. Yeah, they just do it. I was like, so Jason Statham's really not that great of a fighter. It's just y'all trying to fight at the same time.
It's because they're polite. Okay, they're very polite.
He's only fighting one at a time. It's crazy. Yeah.
That, and then when it's like a shooting scene and it's like 20 people shooting with guns and one person's running, it's like all of y'all missed them. Like, houseway, how? But the movie, I mean, it was cool, but stuff like that, you just be like, all right.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, good. And the event with the seniors went well. Did you have any hiccups, any adversity you had to overcome, or it went pretty smoothly?
Well, the only adversity I had to overcome is our church. I didn't know this. They're doing a lot of renovations, painting the walls, redoing the floor. So, I'm trying to set up and push the cart in because I had giveaways and things like that. And before the presentation even started, I got white paint all over my dress.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm trying to scrub it out in the bathroom, but then like literally the whole front of my dress looks just damp. So then I'm standing outside in the sun trying to let it dry. Was not planned, but the rest of the presentation went well. I've already been asked to do it again for another group of seniors. They were like, "Do you do this for other churches?" And I was like, "No, not really." They're like, "Well, we would love for you to come to this church. This church might be going on tour."
There you go.
Discussing how energy impacts the environment, our health, and our wallets, and ways to lower our utility bills. So,
amen.
Yeah.
So, all right, Kellie Leasy, welcome to the party.
Hey,
Hey.
We're discussing our week of love that we just passed. How was yours? So
it was great.
Yeah.
Celebrated, like I said, my mom's birthday, my boyfriend's birthday, celebrated my dad's birthday.
Everybody.
What'd you say?
No, I said happy birthday, everybody.
Oh, yes. So it was a good time, like I said, full of life and love, and it was great. It was great. I had a really good week.
Gotcha.
Can't complain. Yep. Went to DC for the weekend. That was fun.
For something for the part of the Valentine's Day, or just to go, or
just to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was good. I've had a good last week.
You got people still up that you still know up there? So?
A couple people still know up there.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's been good. Like I said, it was a great week, one of my favorite weeks. This one didn't let me down. I had another great 2024 Valentine's Day week. And it was good.
What y'all do for Valentine's Day?
So I go out with my parents first. So we go to dinner. So did that at 5, and then met my boyfriend afterwards. And so I had already eaten. So we just went out for drinks.
Gotcha.
But it was nice. It was nice. A really nice time.
Oh, I forgot. There was something else I totally forgot to mention. So my wife is pregnant, and I'm going to be a father.
Yay! Congratulations, Terry.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for a minute.
She is 5 weeks pregnant. Yes.
There you go.
So when's the due date?
So still early, but
Yes.
There you go.
That is huge.
Thank you.
Terry, when's the due date?
Around Halloween. So might be a little pumpkin coming.
That's huge.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm gonna eat my Valentine's Day candy. While we're here.
Well, for me, Terry, I know you said me being a single man, what did I do? So before even being a single man, I'm more of a comedian. So I was the entertainment for people's Valentine's Day. I did 2 shows.
Oh, those are always fun shows.
That's cool.
I did 2 shows Valentine's Day before going to work.
That must have been especially fun for you because you're a crowd work guy.
Yeah.
So Valentine's Day is like crowd work, absolutely. Christmas.
Absolutely. No, for sure.
Yeah.
I did have one little, just say, white paint on the dress situation myself, because I had at the first show I accidentally locked my keys in the car, so I had to Uber to the second show.
Off to a good start.
Then get a ride back to the first place. Then whatever. Now, luckily for me, because as y'all know, I wrecked my actual car last year, but my dad's old car that I now just say own. We did like a bill of sale and all that. He sold it to me for like $5 or whatever. But but that car, the motor and the locks are messed up. So like it'll automatically unlock eventually. You just have to wait for it to unlock
To get in the mood to
yeah,
unlock.
yeah. So by the time while I was at the other show, I told the host of the first show, like, yo, before you leave, just check my car to see did it unlock, and it did. So he got my keys and sat them on my tire for me, and then by the time I got a ride back, I was able to get in and go straight to work. So
I love that your car has an attitude problem.
yeah. Yeah. You should see it like while I'm driving, like sometimes the locks just go up and down just nonstop. It just does it just a nonstop. Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those type of things. But
my old car, it didn't matter what type of key you had. If you put the tip in and turned, it will unlock.
gotcha.
What?
So I would lock my keys or whatever all the time. And I just like, can I just borrow your keys real quick and get it in? And then also, Rudy, I thought it's funny. Every car my dad has owned, and I've only owned 2 cars. We've sold our cars for $1. Like
Yeah,
my dad, I sold my car to Jerry Smith for $1. But actually, my dad gave him $200 or something like that, so he could get some stuff fixed. Like we paid him to get the car.
That's right. To those who don't know, you can't give a car to somebody because then the tax bill hits you. You have to sell a car to somebody for like $5.
Yeah.
If you're gonna give it to them.
Yeah. And just real quick, my homeboy had a car in high school that you could use any key to actually start the car. So it could be a house key. It could be anything. Any key you put in the ignition, it's gonna turn. It's gonna start.
Wait a minute now. Then the car gets stolen.
I know, right?
Yeah, like my neighbor had a car you could start with a screwdriver. At least he used to have a car. You could start with a screwdriver. I took care of that.
I took care of that.
And let me know if my camera, the sound and stuff goes out, and I'll just switch back to just.
Nah, you good. Whatever you did, you good.
Yeah, you're fine. And now it's Kellie. That's
well, she's on the phone call.
She's on the phone.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious what happened.
All right, cool. Well, so like I mentioned, pregame, Janessa, you had sent us in the group chat. You've been doing a very good job with these topics from the Shade Room and Jasmine Brandon, etc. As the devil continues to troll Jesus on the internet. But so R&B singer Keke Wyatt made an announcement, I guess within the last few weeks, that she was going to start a church or open a church rather, that is focused on worship, word, and acceptance of all people. And then, so her exact post, which is what I read, which is what led me to thinking about the topic for today. It says, I have a dream for years to plant a church that was not a traditional one, but one that was focused on worship and word and acceptance of all people. A place for those that are done with the drama and judgment of religious people. God said now, so I'm saying yes. I'm launching this with my ministry partner, Pastor Larry Weathers, and the name of the church is Sound Atlanta. Now look, nothing is changing with my music. I'm not switching to gospel. I'll still be singing R&B and doing all my shows. You can do both. And I want to show the world you don't have to compromise your love for Jesus and can still do great music centered around love. So if anybody on here knows more about Keke Wyatt than I do, because I'm familiar with the name, but
I think about that.
I'm not familiar with her that well to have an opinion about whether she should be opening a church or not, or whatever the case may be. But what caught my attention was when she said the words, "You can do both," because I had just watched. You gotta mute yourself. Your ASMR.
Whatever barbecue chips you're eating or whatever.
I think that's her candy she was trying to eat, but
it's something. Get your words original under control.
But when she said that you can do both, mainly because the Crystal Renee, she's one of the stars on Tyler Perry's show Sisters, and I think it's a team of, I think is what it's called. She has a podcast, and she had the comedian and internet personality Pretty V on her podcast, and they were having a discussion about basically doing both. Like they both were talking about how they've had this, because they're both PKs as well, but they've also had discussions with their pastors and parents and different stuff like that in reference to, you know, Kellie, you took yourself off of
She on the struggle bus today. It's all right.
Luckily, she had pants on. You know,
all right, I know, right?
Or unluckily,
I don't know if you know. Yeah, okay. I don't know what
you could have made it 600 million
we don't
viewers.
know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, Lord have mercy. I can't.
What a fun day!
All right. So,
What did you see?
I mean, it just was seeing you standing up, but like your shirt was kind of starting to hike up, so I just didn't know where.
What was happening?
Yeah,
You didn't know what was going on, so you just wanted
say
to.
something.
Right. My bad. Keep going.
Okay. So they were having a conversation of like, you know, saying like, you know, certain, like, you know, as far as them playing certain roles or doing certain, you know, sexual scenes and stuff like that, and but also just say living for God and et cetera, and just having that whole discussion like, can you do both? You know, the difference between like, am I just playing a character? Does this represent, you know, my real life, et cetera, and then I mean, and I've also just say had thoughts about this as well, being not even so much just say being a PK, but being a comedian, and even like what type of content that I can put out there, even if it's not necessarily online, but even just jokes to tell, you know, stuff like that. Like am I just say crossing some level of a, you know, sinful line, or, you know, just that whole conversation. So that's why I, you know, when she said, "Can you do? Oh, you can do both." That's why it stood out to me so much. So once again, if anybody has an actual opinion or facts or whatever when it comes down to Kiki Wyatt herself and opening a church, you can acknowledge that. But then ultimately, I do want to get to the point of how y'all feel about if you can do.
Hey, anybody can open a church. You know who had a church? Was a pastor, George Foreman. You know. He was famous for knocking people out and apparently saving souls as well. So if he can do it, anybody can do it.
Gotcha.
All I know about Kiki Wyatt is that she's a great singer. Got about 10, 11, 12 kids. I've
Has she birthed?
I believe so.
Jesus. Okay.
Like I said, I know some of her songs. Most of the songs that I know of her are like love songs, relationship-based songs. I don't know if she's put most of my stuff. Most of the things that I know about her are like dated. I don't know if she has any like new songs. But I've seen her like in the concert circuit, like the little Wind Down Wednesdays in Atlanta, a couple of times. So, I mean, I don't have an opinion, you know, like, oh, she's a heathen and she's, you know, speaks on this, that, the other. Like, she absolutely cannot open a church. Like, I don't have any strong opinions like that about her. Like I said, now, can you do both? That's another topic. But in terms of this,
so going back to her music real quick, could Bishop William Surfy play her music at watch night and it not be a problem like swag surfing?
He played Savage. He can most definitely play her music.
No, but I'm saying like is her songs more on the Savage swag surfing level, or are they more just say what people would consider church appropriate if you played them?
So it's not Savage, and again, I only know her love songs, right? So it's definitely not Savage. Things that I know are more like, you know, R&B, like I said, sing along, romance, you know, or whatever. So yes, I do think I believe that there could be a place for love songs in the church. Yes.
Her song.
Yeah. From the ones I know. Now I don't know her whole collection.
But
the couple that I know, I can see where there may be a place for that. Marriage ministry, or, you know, absolutely. Yeah, that's just, I don't know her whole collection, but just based on what I know about her. Yeah.
Janessa, are you familiar with Sister Wyatt?
I know some kind of like Kelly. I know some of her older songs. I'm not too familiar with a lot of her new stuff. Or maybe I am, just didn't know. I think I'm trying to think of like My First Love, and
That's what I know.
she did a cover of, I think, Patti LaBelle's "If Only." What is it? If
If only you
You
knew.
I think, like, I kind of feel like those songs aren't, necessarily overly sexual or explicit in language or anything like that. I want to say, because I haven't listened to the clips, I guess the Shade Room had posted it in a minute. But she had said something to the extent that she would continue to make love songs for married people. And I thought that was interesting, because there are a lot of people who, especially R&B singers, who make love songs, and sometimes they can be a little raunchy, a little explicit or whatever. And there's always that argument that, well, if you're married, I mean, that's covered under the umbrella of marriage. So there's nothing wrong with that. But then I guess the question or conversation comes like, well, what if you're not married? Are you supposed to be, feeling the songs the way that the married people are supposed to be doing? So I don't know. That's something that probably needs to be explored a little bit more. I don't really have any concrete thoughts about that. Haven't thought about it that deep. But when it comes to doing both, are we going there? Or
let's go there. Yeah,
okay. When it comes to doing both, I guess it kind of depends on what that both is. We kind of talked about it before, kind of how like some rap artists or pop artists have done Christian or gospel songs or gospel albums, or maybe they have a gospel song or a song with a gospel artist. But then, like, the other 98% of their catalog is explicit, sexual, killing, robbing, things that aren't what we would consider of God or what be considered sin. And I don't, like, the initial thought I have is that, no, you probably can't do that both. Like, you can't be talking about how much, amazing God is, but then go do the complete opposite. That kind of seems like you're contradicting to a certain extent. But I also feel like that's something you got to take up with God. We've talked about it before on the podcast several times about having your own convictions. I do think there are some guidelines in the Bible, but people still do it for whatever reasons they choose. So I don't, I can't really speak on why other people do it. I think that for me, I just try to do things, and I'm not perfect and it's a work in progress, but I just try to do things that are always pleasing in God's sight. That's the goal. So let me think about it a little bit more. Maybe I have more to add in a minute.
Well, no matter what you're doing in life, you're always going to give half the attention to two things when you're trying to, do multiple projects. I know I've done multiple projects before, and I am under it is my strict opinion that I would rather whole-ass one thing than half-ass two things. That's just me, though.
So, are we talking about multiple projects? Or are we talking about just doing things that are contradicting to?
No, I just mean in general. Just, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're trying to run a business and a nonprofit, or if you're, you can have all the great, intentions in the world that you want, but something's going to take precedent.
Right. But I think, which I get what you're saying, but I think that's more or less of just say the difference between somebody who can focus on one thing versus somebody who's more of a jack of all trades. But I think what as far as the interview this particular part isn't necessarily focused on just say Kiki Wyatt specifically, because I don't know her like that. But the conversation that they were having on that podcast was more or less about, because like so her character on the TV show that she's on, like, like they're, that she has to do like pretty explicit, sex scenes, and it's not with just say a husband, you know what I'm saying? It's more like on the fornication side and stuff like that. But then you are this person in your real life who then just say represents God, you know what I'm saying? And so she was discussing how she dealt with just say internal confliction or even conviction with that, just wondering, like, is it okay because it's just a character, or is it not okay even though it's just a character, I'm still doing something that doesn't represent just say, my real morals and values and beliefs.
I think her convictions are valid. Just in terms of, right, because we all and I came in late, but I heard as I was getting on Janessa talking about a movie, how often do we enjoy movies, watch movies? How often do we get, or TV shows or whatever she's in, how often do we get involved and engrossed in that character? Like, I think I forever hate the man from the Diary of a Black Woman.
I know.
I mean, he is typecast to that show, and I forever hate him.
Right.
And so I do feel like we do, as watchers, as viewers, I think it's the writers' purpose to kind of get us involved, to kind of get us into the show. And I can see where her conviction of, and I don't know, what does she do? She a pastor, preacher, a singer? What she do?
Well, she's a PK, but I mean, she's just a Christian. As
a Christian, and then playing this role of, like you said, doing these explicit sex scenes with someone who isn't my husband. I can see where you feel like that there's some difficulty in that,
right.
For sure. And I think it comes back to how you choose to how you want to portray yourself, because we do a lot of times identify people, actresses and actors, as their characters in the show, because that's all I know. I don't know I can't even think of no actress now. I don't know Halle Berry, but I know her in Monsters Ball. I've actually never seen Monsters Ball, but I just know it's a popular one, but I don't know it, but that's
talk about racy. Oh, goodness.
So that's what I just remember. Did she have a naked scene or something in that?
Yeah, pretty hardcore one, actually.
Gotcha. And that's the only reason. Anyway, so, but yeah, so that's usually how we identify actresses and actors. It's what they play in, because I don't know you outside of that. And so I can definitely feel and see where that may be difficult for her, especially, as I've talked about my journey as a PK, where I've always been very conscious and aware of how I present myself, in my real life, in the light that I bring at work, in the grocery store, and what I'm saying, in the community, and at church, or or whatever, for her to be a Christian, and then, like I said, do these, and it may not even be the explicit, maybe the explicit sex things too, but whatever the context is around who she's having sex with and what these relationships look like. I ain't gonna say whether she's right or wrong for it, but I can definitely say I understand why she's convicted about it, for sure. Hey y'all, sorry to interrupt, but we have a few church announcements. Follow us on Instagram at TheWorstOnesPK. New content coming soon. We also have a TikTok at TheWorstOnesPK. No content yet, but continue to check us out. If you want to, when you listen to our podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Just make sure you type in The Worst Ones Podcast and you'll find us. And when you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you to our 500,422 followers. We love you so much. Now, back to the show.
But is it an actor's fault that we as people can't discern between reality, between an artist and the art,
Yes and no. I think yes, because not necessarily fault, but yes, because you do choose that role, and you choose kind of like sex, roles with sex scenes with people who aren't your husband aren't the only roles out there. Aren't the only roles that you know what I'm saying, that you have to take. That may be the one that you were casted as, or the one that your agent or the director thought you may be good at based on your look, or or whatever, but that isn't the only role out there.
Right.
And so I do think as a Christian actress, there is some responsibility in the choice that you made to play this role. But then on the flip side, to your point, Terry, I agree. There is a difference in the actor, and the person itself. And we should be able to see that difference, but I don't know the person itself. Like I can see Rudy the comedian and Rudy the person because I know the two different people.
Mhm.
When I look at, again, Halle Berry, I don't know who Halle Berry is. So all I know is her catalog of movies and TV shows.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
it. So for her, that's unfortunately what I see. And if she continues to play those same roles, now if there was only one role, that may be different. But if she continues to play the same roles, then that's how I'm going to see her. And
Mhm.
right, is it fair? No. Is it right? No. Is it some responsibility on my end to, like you said, to be able to differentiate between real and fantasy? Sure. But that's just what it is.
Right. Right. Yeah.
One
I mean, and that's
I'm sorry. There's a difference between coming in a podcast, because in coming in a podcast, I come as my true self.
Mhm.
Versus, again, you playing a character.
Mhm.
And we just don't, So for me to be on this podcast and say one thing, as a preacher's kid, and go out and do another thing, like I'm Kellie here, I'm Kellie out in the world. For
Mhm.
her, like I said, it is, I can see a difference, but that's just
Right.
kind of what we see, what we know.
Yeah,
Right.
but I mean, like for me and Rudy as comedians, it's the same thing as if we tell a joke that somebody thinks is offensive or that they don't like or whatever, and then they approach us after the show or on the street as if it's real and that's what we believe, and it's not, it's fiction, it's made up, but
But
people get very serious about it sometimes.
go ahead, Rudy.
Well, I was gonna say, so it is a little different for me, because yeah, so me on stage is just say a more animated version of myself, but animated in the sense of like my energy level. Like I'm way more calm, relaxed, and quiet and reserved when I'm not on stage, and then when I'm on stage, I'm kind of more loud, explosive, whatever. But my sense of humor is my sense of humor. You know what I'm saying? Like there's things that I think are funny that are, probably inappropriate. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about inappropriate in referencing like to in a Christian light, not to just human beings. It may not be that inappropriate, but in a Christian light, and I have just say done my due diligence, if you will, when it comes down to like what does the word say about it? Because I can't. I would have to look it up. I can't think of where the scripture is right now, and I'll try to find it before we end this episode. But where the Bible does kind of speak about, excuse me, like not making inappropriate jokes, but it was more or less talking about like either facetious ones or even sexual ones, like so jokes that would either put somebody in a bad light or lie on them or try to hurt them in any type of way, or even like I said like sexually like explicit ones. And now granted, I definitely I've never just say been a facetious person, so that was never really like in my wheelhouse to begin with, but I've definitely made like sexually like funny jokes or whatever the case may be. Now but but I'm also a believer that just because that just say is a part of my sense of humor, it doesn't make it right. It doesn't, because of course at one point in time I've looked at and been like, well, God, like you gave me this sense of humor, you know what I'm saying? So this is how you made me. This is how I should be allowed to be. But it's also like, but I also, and I'm not trying to be funny or even, inappropriate when I say this, but me as I would love to, smash every bad chick in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a part of, you know, my makeup, but I know that that's also incorrect. Like you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like I would love to, you know.
No, you can.
Well, I'm saying, like, as far as in God's eyes, like I would,
Okay,
you know,
yeah, you
like
shouldn't, but you can.
but that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, but
Hmm.
I'm talking about me specifically. Like, 'cause I even think about that even when it comes down to just say, you know, the dream that I'm chasing and stuff. Like, I personally don't feel that God would give me a platform of fame and notoriety just so I could be, you know, a whore. You know what I'm saying? And just go around the world and just be, you know, trying to smash chicks in every country and stuff like that. Like, I'm talking about me personally. And I know a lot of people do that. It's even the norm. It's even expected. But I just don't feel like that's, you know, my path or my journey. You know what I'm saying? I think there's definitely a bigger picture, you know, for what I do. Even so much so, I mean, like I did a show last Thursday, and not even knowing it, but like having a conversation with people once I came off stage, like they had just these were all adults, but the kids had just lost their father 2 days before that, and the mother that was with them had just lost her husband, you know, and they was just telling me like, man, we really appreciate the laughs that you just gave us because, man, we've been going through a lot, you know what I'm saying? These last couple of days have been a lot, you know, and I sincerely, like, when I got, you know, by myself, when I was driving to work that night, like I was just like sincerely just thanking God that I was even able to be used, you know, in that moment. Like, 'cause I was just trying to, you know, be funny, just doing my thing, whatever like that. But I do always pray before I get on stage that, you know, for me to be able to give these group of people who are listening to me, like whatever they need from my jokes, you know what I'm saying? And so the fact that I was even able to just say experience their testimony, if you will, that they really needed to laugh and that it helped them, you know, I was appreciative of that. And so when stuff like that happens, it makes me not want to lose focus of the bigger picture and try to just say be inappropriately funny just for the sake of being funny, but also understand like what I'm doing it for. So I'm saying all this to say I've had my conflicts as well, even when it comes down to, you know, like I've written a whole feature film script that I honestly don't feel like I can use because I know there's a lot of inappropriate shit. You know, it's a lot of stuff in there that I just know like this ain't, you know, it would be funny. It would definitely be funny, but in reference to like what it is that I'm trying to represent, I just don't think it'd be appropriate. And I do think, and we kind of talked about this when we was talking about Tyler Perry however many months ago. I do think that like if there is a character in a film or a TV show that is just say having sex before marriage or doing whatever, smoking crack, whatever the case may be, I think that if the end result is that character just say that their character arc, they become a better person, they learn something from it, they're you know, there's some level of deliverance from it, then I think that, you know, I think that's more of a balance. Because even in like the movie Jump in the Moon, Paula Patton's character, like she made this whole promise with God that she wouldn't have sex anymore before marriage because she kept just having sex with a bunch of dudes. But she was like, yo, this isn't getting nowhere. So God, I promise you, I won't have sex with anybody else until I get married if you send me like, you know, a good guy type thing. And then she held to it. So yeah, they didn't have any sex scenes in that movie, but we seen a character who did just say fornicate, but it still led to just say this whole vow of abstinence, whatever like that. So I do think there is a balance in which you can do both. But even in my own comedy, like I check myself a lot because I'm like, am I doing both that ultimately leads to something, or am I doing both that would make people look at me as, you know, they like if I came off stage and you would be shocked that I know God or that I go to church, that I am a preacher's kid, then what I'm doing is probably off brand of what it is that I should be doing. Because for me, I don't really have a two side. Like I tell these type of jokes on stage and these type of jokes off stage. Like the jokes that I think are funny that I tell are the same both ways. But
I was gonna say, so I took my camera off because y'all screens kept freezing, so I was like, maybe it's me.
Yeah.
But I looked up Matthew 6:24 through 26, but I think I'm just going to read part of it. It says, no one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. And one thing I was thinking about, Kelly, when you were talking about how as Christians, we have a responsibility, like we don't have to do those roles. We could choose other roles, that follow more along with what you say you believe or your beliefs or things like that. And I do feel like often, sometimes people may connect to that role, or sometimes the paycheck might be good. And so I think that's where this scripture could kind of come in, like going back to your heart, like what are you really doing it for?
Yeah. You breaking up, Janessa.
You got issues and concerns.
Well, safe to say we won't be getting any Janessa's jewels today.
Well, the jewel of the day is pick your internet service provider carefully.
We can hear you. Go ahead. Last thing I heard you say was, you say you can't serve God and money, and where you say something about it depends on like what you're doing it for, like what you're doing the role.
Yeah, I think it kind of does kind of boil down to what are you doing it for?
Right.
Are you doing it to live in alignment to what God has assigned you to do, or are you doing it so that you can line your bank account? And I guess it could be argued that from what I've heard, because I don't really know much about the acting world, that roles are sometimes hard to come by. And I've heard about the struggling actor situation where a lot of these actors are not constantly bringing in a paycheck, and they're having to work other jobs, and it's just a struggle sometimes. And so I think there's that.
Sometimes you got to do Monsters Ball,
like you want to be.
You're still breaking up. Yeah. Hey, I'll have you know, Monsters Ball was an Oscar-winning film. Just putting that out there.
It's probably why I know the name. I never said anything bad about it. That was just the first Halle Berry movie I can think of.
Well, the sex scenes in that were so graphic that it is still rumored to this day in Hollywood that it was real, that Billy Bob Thornton and her actually had sex. But
what do they say? No.
No confirm or deny.
Gotcha.
No confirmation or denials.
Gotcha. Well, I haven't seen it, so I will never know.
Well, if it's true, he's a lucky man. That's all I'm saying. I've seen that movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Janessa joining from a different page. Let's see if we can.
Okay. Hold on.
Hello.
It's because you got the two. There you go.
Okay. Is that better?
That much better.
Okay, so yeah, I was saying, with their, being struggling actors, people may be feeling called, that God called them to be an actor, but the roles are not just there, and so they're taking other roles just to pay the bills. So there could be an argument that maybe we need to, create more roles or films or opportunities that allow people to, walk in what they believe. That's a conversation for a different day.
Right.
But I do think, like Kelly said, we all have a responsibility. And what we decide to do with that is up to us. But at the end of it all, we will have to stand before God, and that I don't know what you're gonna say. So I don't know. I don't have a heaven or hell to put anybody in, and these are just some thoughts. That's all.
Right. No, for sure. And I think we're all on the same page in reference to like not having just say any judgment for anybody, but like the verbiage that Kellie used earlier, like I understand her conviction. You know what I'm saying? Like I get where the where the question could come from, because even sometimes, like even in my prayer, like I'm asking God, like, do I feel this way because because of just say what humans' opinions would be from church, or do I feel this way because this doesn't really just say align with you? Because even like with Kellie, growing up as a in the Lee family, the royal Lee family in Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? Like I can imagine that, there is some struggles of just say wanting to watch your behavior because of pleasing God, but then also not wanting to damage the family name or the legacy, and that's because just even as humans have a hard time separating the actor as the character from their real life, like us as as being a part of this, just say royal family, and or even just me being myself, or even like your cousin, Kerwin Jr., just wanted to, be himself versus being his father's child. You know what I'm saying? Like that most people, when it comes down to perception, they're not going to separate the two. Like they're going to, pigeonhole you in whatever they feel like you should be, whatever standard you should be held to. And, and you don't get a chance to just be a human being that can take this journey of growth. So that's one struggle in itself, as far as human perception. But then also, like if I'm going to defy humans' perception and just go ahead and do my thing, is doing my thing also pleasing to God, even if humans judge me for it, but I know God is cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Because even to both of their points in the podcast, they both said like they asked their parents, who are PKs, and they asked their current pastors or whatever, and all of these people told them like, yo, it's just a character, like it's just a character. As long as you live your life right, you'll be okay. And I don't have an opinion on that response one way or the other, but it did make me think that even like, how do we even know if our pastor or whoever is giving us the right advice about it? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're even though you're a spiritual leader, you're still a human. You know what I'm saying? Like you're still giving me, and you may even just be telling me something just to keep me from feeling bad about, what I'm saying, about my, especially when success is involved. Because like when you're just say if you're doing a sex scene in a low budget movie that nobody's seen, it's easy for everybody at the church to be like, you shouldn't have did that. That's why God didn't allow you to be blessed from that, because you shouldn't have did it. But if you do it in an Oscar winning film,
right,
and you leaving an inheritance for your children's children because you done made so much money and stuff like that, now it's looked at as this is what you were called to do. This is like God blessed you to be able to go into Hollywood and do your thing, and in whatever case may be. And so a lot of times I know I've seen Christian church folk, whatever you want to call them, gauge how they feel about people's work based off of the success of it. Like if you make a lot of money from it, get a lot of fame from it, it was obviously God. If you didn't, and it maybe hurt your career, maybe made you go crazy or whatever, then it was the devil. And
Very results driven.
Right, exactly. Right,
Yeah.
right. And it's like
there was a nude scene in Titanic, if you guys don't remember. But
so
good point.
Yeah. So I'm saying like, it's a
Hey, my thing is live your life. Let everybody else live your life. You get judged at the end, and it's your problem to deal with. It's not even for us to try and decide. We can give a commentary, an opinion on it, but at the end of the day, like you said, the worst thing you can do is try and be, judgmental about it, because it's not your place. That's not your job to do.
Do you, and this is a question for all y'all real quick. Do like, would it make a difference if your pastor was just say a traditional pastor? And what I mean by traditional, meaning like somebody who you don't really know anything crazy about, like even if they had a past growing up, but now they've been delivered, now they listen to gospel music, now they you know, they preach the word, they don't drink, they don't cuss, they don't smoke, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, versus let's just say, if not Kiki Wyatt herself, but somebody in that same boat. Like, so let's just say like your favorite actor, actress, or rap artist or whatever, who is more in the secular world, open to church. Like, would you be as open to taking your spiritual guidance from them like you would a pastor that isn't more in the secular world? Or do you look at them the same? Do you look at them differently? Like, what would be the difference in approach?
This is actually really easy for me to answer because before my father was a pastor, he sold pot and LSD.
But I'm saying, but what if he continued to do that as a pastor?
Well, I mean, those are conflicting worlds, so it'd be pretty difficult.
Especially even just saying, maybe not so much the LSD, but pot, being that it's legal and it has all these medical benefits now and stuff like that. Like, instead of selling it on the street, he had like a dispensary, but then was still pastor.
I think that's fine as long as you're keeping, you know, if you're keeping it legal. I mean, you might as well just say, well, what happens if your pastor also owns half a stake in a bar?
Right.
You know? Or what if it's not a bar? What if it's just a restaurant that also happens to have a bar? So it's a bar and grill. What about then? I mean, we're splitting hairs on this. So,
Lady.
Oh, go ahead, Janessa.
you guys said the same thing at the same time.
I was just gonna say it probably is a more case by case situation for me, but I probably would want somebody who is actually living what they preach. You know, I think somewhere in the Bible it talks about testing the spirits. And I think I personally just would prefer someone who is doing their best to follow what the Bible says. I know some of the things we're talking about, they could be stumbling blocks for some people. So, you know, that's why it depends on, you know, the situation, but to eliminate being a stumbling block, you know, for the majority or for all, I would personally seek someone living, you know, a life that I'm aspiring to live. One, just as a way, you know, to see that it can be done, or, you know, someone is actively on a daily basis living what they preach. But that's just me. I guess I also did kind of grow up in a more traditional upbringing with preaching and stuff like that. But also at the end of the day, I think it's really important that we all have our own personal relationship with God, because like you said, Rudy, everybody's still at the end of the day human, and you can't expect them to be 100% perfect. And so that own relationship has to come in. We can't just rely on another human to just be the end all be all. So I think it's a combination of finding the right person for a right pastor or leadership for you, and then also making sure you're fostering your own relationship with God to make sure, you know, if that person's saying or doing something that doesn't align, you know, you and God can talk about that, and y'all can have your own convictions and things of that nature. I know that was kind of jumbled, but hopefully you got it.
No, I got you.
Getting the gist of it.
You know, I feel like a pastor with a past, I don't mind if I see, like we stated, that at this point he is consistently striving to live his life under God's will. You know, again, you know, like Terry's dad, like, you know, I'm not going to fault someone for their past, but there has to be, like I said, just a consistent change movement into you being a pastor. But I feel like, and this is no disrespect to your dad's journey, Terry. But I think, and I don't know his journey, but I also think there should be a transition, a progression of sorts. Like, is there okay, you've come from this background, and you've gotten saved, and you want to turn your life around. At that moment you can't be a pastor. Like, you got to have some times trying to follow the word first before you become pastor. You may be a deacon, a minister, those things first under the covering of someone else before you just leap to you being a pastor. You may be a small group leader, and your small group may be, making this, this transition from drug addiction, sex addiction, gambling to, a Christ-like, and from there you begin to grow as a pastor that leads a church. I don't think that there's a direct path from this life to pastor life. But I definitely wouldn't fault a pastor who had a past. But that pastor definitely has to be intentional about living a life for Christ, for sure.
And not only that, if you are truly ordained for this, we should be able to see it from the fruit of your tree, right?
Right.
So, maybe you shouldn't have to have that stake in the bar, or own a dispensary, or
right,
do those things, because
you see some transitions. Instead of it being bar and grill, is just grill.
That is so ridiculous.
No, Daco, you have at a restaurant, but like I said, but that's your own personal conviction. And like Janessa said, like, I think at the root of it, it is everybody's own relationship with Christ. Because I'm gonna not lie. It's your own personal relationship with Christ. And even to Rudy's point about, the young lady, the actress, saying that she had asked her pastors and other ministers and spiritual leaders, and they said it's just a TV show, it's okay. But see, she's still convicted about it. And so she can't just lean on what they said, because the Lord is telling her something as well, And so I think that's the important piece for me too. Because, like, I can't remember who said it, Janessa or Rudy, like, they may be just trying to make her feel bad. Again, your tithes and offering increasing in the church because you got this new check. Go on and keep working. We see big things for you in the future. We proud of you, whatever. But if the Lord is saying something to you, if your spirit is rumbling, if you feel convicted, then there is a reason why, outside of what you feel like somebody who may be closer to God or someone who's a spiritual leader may say. But again, we all got past. No one is perfect. Not even my daddy, even though I tend to think that he is. So yeah.
You can have a bar and grill. Just only sell wine. It's a 2-drink minimum.
The Bible does not say that drinking is a sin.
It sounds like you're losing money. The Bible said don't get drunk.
So don't fall into drunkenness. But
okay,
you can still
then
drink.
You can have a bar, but like Rudy said, there's a 2-drink minimum.
It's 2-drink minimum. Wine.
You mean 2-drink maximum?
Oh yeah, maximum.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
I've been doing comedy shows.
Right.
So
I didn't say 2-drink minimum. No. 2-drink maximum. You were correct here.
Right. All right, Janessa, you jeweling us up?
Yeah, I got a jewel because Kellie was gonna have a fit.
Did y'all record last week?
No.
Okay. So see, you could have skipped that week because I wasn't there. But today, we here.
Well, as I said in the intro, yesterday I did my community educational event. And when I was sitting down and putting it together, I kind of had an outer body experience because I kind of saw how everything, or not everything, but a lot of things that I have done in life, a lot of things that my family members have done in life, literally kind of led up to this point. And I know, like, growing up, I always kind of felt like I was different because I like different things. I've been into environmental science since elementary school. I knew I wanted to do something with it, and I stuck to it, even though I didn't really have a blueprint for it. I didn't have any like mentors or people who had done it before me. Like, it was just something that has been on me for years. And even through school, through my career, I just did what I felt I was being led to do. And the scripture, Psalms 139:14 came up, and it says, I praise you for wait a second. Psalms 139:316 says, "For you formed my inner parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it well." And it goes on to say some other things, but it just really dawned on me that everybody is uniquely and fearfully and wonderfully made. All the things that God has put in you is for a purpose. I had the opportunity to speak about how, energy impacts the environment, our health, and our wallets. And those are all things that I've literally kind of been doing with my master's in public health. That's and environmental health, my career in environmental science. My dad, before he was a pastor, did a lot of work with energy. He worked for Georgia Power. My uncle, he was Georgia's first Black public service commissioner, who was the governing body in Georgia that sets the utility rates. And so here I am 34 years later, pulling all of that stuff together, the things that I thought was awkward and kind of abnormal. It's like, here I am now, literally speaking to people, and I'm being asked to speak to other people about everything that God has poured into me. And so I just want to encourage everybody. I'm not just fearfully and wonderfully and uniquely made, but everybody is fearfully and uniquely made. And God has a purpose for all of us. And it's so important that we walk into it. If you would have told me when I was 18, I would be speaking to seniors, I would have laughed at you. Like, but it's part of God's plan. So we can't skip or shy away from our assignment, no matter what it looks like. And it's a testimony, to just be able to stand here today and see it. Because sometimes when we go through different things and different seasons of our life, we don't understand why we're having to do it. It can be a struggle. It can be, complicated. It may be frustrating, but it's all working together for the good. So yeah, everybody's fearfully, wonderfully made, and to walk in your purpose, it's God appointed, and the appointment is now. That's it.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Love it. Love it.
Yes.
Love it. Yeah, I've definitely grown up with my own sense of like, why am I like this type of thoughts before. So yeah, that's deep. That's deep for sure. And real quick before we do the social media plugs, that the scripture I was talking about was Ephesians 5, verses 3 and 4. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becometh saints, neither filthiness nor foolish talking nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather of giving of thanks. So when I looked up that word jesting in the Greek and then went through the whole, etc., the whole deep dive. And so that's how I got to that whole breakdown I explained earlier. But nonetheless, Kellie Leasy.
At Princess Kells 51, still private.
Still private.
You can find me at JRihanna_. We have fun over there.
At Terry Wayne Comedy on all social media platforms.
And the book,
as well
baby.
as the book on Unclaimed Ashes on
Book
Amazon.
club coming soon.
Book club coming soon. Look at that. Got my face and everything.
There he is.
Not quite as red as it is right now.
All right. And shout out Risa G, at Risa_G, our producer, who is helping keep this flame a burning. And yeah, man. So thank y'all for tuning in. As always, like I said, we apologize for our miscommunications last week as far as getting y'all an episode, but we are back like we never left. I'm happy all of you guys have found love out here in these streets, because it's hard. You know what I'm saying? I don't trust nobody. So, my mom got me sometimes they gift that she felt bad
to live.
On that note.
All right.
But we appreciate y'all. Jeez, why does this always happen?
Oh, because you put the tubes up or something? Like, what is that?
Here, let me do this one then.
Right.
Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for
cute.
listening. We are the worst ones. We out.
Top of the world.